But let's start with Jorge. As I said, he's a newly appointed professor. I think he started in January this year. And he's born in Mexico, has a master degree from St. Lucas University in... no, that's not in Antwerp. That's in Antwerp as well. And then a PhD from Royal Academy of Fine Arts, also in Antwerp. And the title of his PhD was Other Bodies Design. His work has been shown extensively internationally, in particular in Europe and in North and South America. And I can mention that he's quite, at his next project, or his current projects, are his participation in Schmuck next week in Munich. His practice includes also a long list of lectures and workshops on the topic of jewelry, contemporary jewelry, and his own work. I think, as far as I know, the jewelry very often consists of metal and leather, maybe also wood, and in these materials he investigates his own environment. That be religion, emotions, relationships, and also, well, religion I guess would be, but the very, very big questions in life. And I'm sure he will tell us more about it. So please, Jörg, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. This is me. I'm Jorge Manilla. This lecture was kind of complex to get together. I wanted to take you on a kind of trip through my thoughts, my background, who I am, how I think, my life in general, and how I came to be here today. Yeah, so I like to start make some reflections about small things in life that create a kind of impact in you, things that change your life, but that usually get unnoticed, like music or a moment, smelled, I don't know, a situation. In my case, it was one sentence that changed my life in a certain moment. And this sentence I will tell you later. Let's start from the beginning. So I don't know if you can recognize this. It's a little bit of my life. This is a place where I was born. It's Mexico City. It's a place with 26 million inhabitants. You have to imagine I was born there, and I was one of the millions of childs there in this big city, and no idea about my future, no idea what I supposed to do, no idea how my life supposed to develop. So I started doing a very normal life and a very normal place, but huge place. So here I will take a very small topic about my family. So I was born in a family with 6 children. And my father leaves my mom. This is very personal, but I guess I have to tell. My father leaves my mom when I was born. I was the youngest one. So she was a single traditional mother with 6 children. So she was always telling us, if you want to get something, there is no option. You have to work. And anyway, you have to work. And it was another advice that my mom was always telling me. And she said, Jorge, there is one thing, you have to keep dreaming. Always keep dreaming. So I was there. My life started just like that, like I didn't know. So the second part that I want to tell you is a little bit about my influences. Where come the inspiration from? What is inspiration? I guess it's the same. Can be a moment, can be a situation, can be a melt, can be a color, can be a dream even. I don't know what is, but it was my first situation. He's Manuel Manilla. It was my over grandfather. And since my father leaves the house, I had a very strong breaking with this side of the family. So, and it was a kind of situation between love and hate. I didn't want it to be part of this family, but in a certain way, I was going back always to this. So, it was my big inspiration. Not only for the craft that he was doing, but for the political messages that he was doing. He was giving a lot of critiques to the government, and in a certain moment he escaped. Nobody knows where is he, nobody knows where is his body. He was killed by the government, and of course all these stories started to I was very young, so it started to give me a certain input to go in one direction in my life. So in my country, we have that as as very big topic, not only because it's a big party for us, but it's part of the daily life. And here are some elements. So it's traditional, but political. We have this culture who is related to a lot of religion and cosmogony and a lot of gods and beliefs. Beliefs that still exist until now. This is a very recent photo, no even 2 years ago, I took in the center of Mexico City. So people still dancing there, and they believe in this Aztec Indian culture. And then this is one part of Mexico City that is like the only part in Mexico that stay as Mexico was 400 years ago. Mexico was built atop. Mexico was a kind of lagoon. It was on water. So Mexico City is built atop on water. So and this is the only part that stay as was 400 years ago. And now it's like a familiar place. So the people go there and they take these boats and they, if you see, there are very big tables, so we can there eat with the family, having some music, having some joy. But then when you are traveling in these boats like a 2 hours, you come in places like that. And maybe you make the question why he's showing me all these things, because maybe later when you see my work, you will understand a lot of things. I don't pretend to make this kind of biographical work that is showing a lot of things. I understand this much later, but now I understand that these images create a big impact in my way of thinking. So, well, I didn't tell you, this man believes that collecting these dolls on the water, that he will keep away all the bad souls of ghosts from his house. This is a representation of a, no cemetery, but all the people that the Aztecs killed, and it's in one of the main pyramids in Mexico City. Our belief, of course, the religion is so big that when the people want to ask a favor to the saints, you go to the church and you ask something, and you give back something that have a big value for you, and can be anything. You can even give, you can find in these places the most crazy things, from pictures to credit cards, bank cards, I don't know, diplomas from the school, a lot of things. So they change this environment very oftenly because it's getting full every day. You have to imagine, again, I was very small when I was, I have to go with my mom to those places. And I didn't want it to be there, but then at a certain moment I get fascinated with this kind of images. And then when people say, Jorge, sometimes your work is very busy visually, it's very heavy. Why? And I say, I don't know. I don't know, this is a normal day and a normal hour in the center of Mexico City. This is a market where you can buy the saints for your belief, and the metro. And then they say, Jorge, but it's too busy. You can clean a little bit. And I say, yes, but I don't know why sometimes I have these images in my head. And it's just like that. So one day in the 80s, Salvador Dali went to Mexico City. And once he was there, he went back very disappointed from Mexico. And he said, never, never again I will come back to Mexico. I cannot stand being in a country more surreal than my paintings. He never went back. So, but now, what happened? Having this background, coming from there, I was always thinking, now what I want to do it. So I became jewelry maker by accident. I was always dreaming to be a sculptor. Never, yes, happened after, but happened different situations there. This saved my life. So in a certain moment, coming from this traditional family, I talked to my mom and I said, Mom, I want to do art. And she said, no way. Why? You will become addicted. Addicted to what? I don't know, to drugs, or these people is doing this. And I said, no, that's not true. Of course it's true. And anyway, you need to live and you need to get money and you need to do a profession that really brings you something. And I say, like what? Like your sister, like your brother. I have a sister who is doctor, a brother who is engineer, something like that. So this was the top dream of my mom. And I said, but I want to become an artist. And she said, there are two options. You take for this other profession or you leave the house. 15 years old, what do you think I did? I leave the house. Living in this city, you have three options, which is not easy, of two options. And is you get money very fast. I didn't want this. You go to work, but in the end, you lost your dream to become creator of artist. Of the third one was this. I became a boxer. So in Mexico, there is a national sport. So you can get contracts to fight every weekend. And if you lose or you win, you have your salary. And it was what saved my life. After I realized that it was not only that saved my life, this brings me in discipline. This brings me in a structure in my life, give me the time to make what I wanted to do it. And of course, my mind was very, very clear. And I guess a lot of this way of thinking and going on in my life, I still applying till now. It's, box is not aggressive. It's no, yes, it's aggressive, but it's not just fight and kill the other. It's a lot of tactic and going on. And you have, I say always, you have, in box, you have 1 minute to recover from the tiredness, from all these bad moments during the fight. You have 1 minute. And in our life, sometimes I think, where is our minute to recover? Maybe you have the time, maybe not. And this is my sentence that I was telling you. Champions aren't made in the gyms. Champions are made from something that they have deep inside them. A desire, a dream, a vision. After, it's strong, no? But then doing this with the box, I noticed something, that it was not only about have a desire and have a dream and have a vision. You can have this, but you have to work for it. It's like a training. It's not that you became a champion when you try to follow your dream when you want. No, I guess it's a constant in life. You have to follow it. You have to go it. So, in a certain moment, I decided to leave this place, and I moved to this place in Belgium. 14 years ago, I didn't know what I wanted to do it, but I wanted to continue in my search, in my personal search. So what I was looking for, perhaps he searched for his identity. Perhaps his identity is to search. I don't know. I arrived in Belgium and I started to make a lot of work. I started to apply all the techniques. I didn't tell you, but in Mexico, during I was boxer, I became a goldsmith and silversmith. I went to the school, so classic goldsmith and silversmith. So on one side in my life, I was like a kicking people, and the other side, I was setting diamonds. So it was very strange way of life. But then when I went to Europe, I started to apply all this knowledge, technical knowledge and way of thinking in a very free way. I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to make work for the customers. I didn't want to make work. Of course, it's nice. Of course, you make people happy. Of course, you get money. But I was not happy. And I realized on that moment that money never played a big role in my life because I never got it. But then, anyway, I was happy doing this. So when I was in Europe, and I started to do some work who was related to my way of thinking, to my past. And then I get graduated. So I did first in Belgium 4 years of sculpture. And after, because I am crazy, I went to Antwerp. First in Ghent, the place where I live. So I have my BA in sculpture. And after, because I am crazy, I decided to go to Antwerp and start again in my first year, art jewelry. And everybody said, but you are crazy. Why you want to start in first year? And I said, because I want to learn. What do you want to learn? You know a lot. I want to learn how are the programs, how here is working, how is the education system here. But you don't have to start in first year. And I said, but I want to start in first year. Okay, do what you want. So I did. And I get graduated with this kind of work. What is special in this kind of work? I was working a lot in the materiality and symbols of materials. I was working with, as you see, with human bones. Those are human ribs that I coated. I was working with some cotton paper, which is made from fabrics that were used in some rituals in Mexico. And I was working with porcelain, which was mixed with some powder of other bones. So I got a prize with this work. And then I get out of the school and I got a lot of discussions first, because what do you do after the school? And I was always like this kind of strange Mexican guy living in Europe that nobody understood the work, and why you are working with this, because nobody wants to buy this. Is this important for you? And I say, well, of course it's always nice to sell the work. And of course it's always nice to reach this market and to explore these aspects. But if it's important for me, I don't know. But I am happy now what I am doing. So going back some years, I was thinking like, if I wanted money, I could keep going on doing this gold and diamonds ring. But I choose the difficult way, as always. And then started everything. With this project, I get involved in other projects, invited in some exhibitions. I did a lot of objects as well, not only jewelry pieces, objects, and some drawings, some pictures. And then I continue working. And 2 years later, I got a big prize. In Belgium, there is only one big prize of design, and it's called Henry van der Velde Prize. They give every year only 2 prizes for the long career and the young talent. And they call me and you don't apply, they choose you, they see what you are doing, how relevant you are for the field or for the design or apply arts, and they give you the prize. So they call me and they say, Jorge, you got the prize of your own talent. And I say, but why? I don't want this prize. But why you don't want this prize? And it was a big discussion. So I don't will tell you all the story, but in the end, I get to the office in a table with the jury, with the people, and they say, why you make so difficult? You can just get your prize and enjoy and be like that. And I was thinking like, but what belongs this prize? So I became designer of the year. I get my money. So what? And they say, well, it was a big discussion. And then they told me it was because of my materiality, my way of using the ideas and the concepts, and that Belgium was going too clean in the design that they needed like this kind of powerful work. So I accepted my money, I accepted my price, and started a lot of things. So I was making some other commissions work for some, it was made for the National Gallery in Manchester. I started to travel a lot, exhibiting my work and to think different. I guess for me, this is the second aspect in my life that creates a big impact in me, moving. Moving from Mexico to Europe, and then inside Europe and again outside Europe, started to change my way of thinking, started to make open my horizons and to think in a different way. Started to create from other start points. Of course, always very difficult and heavy topics, as he told you, like topics about human aspects, relationships, love, suffering, religion, pain, body. I mean, related to us, but that we don't want to see. So I say always, my work is not what you see. My work is much more than that. There are a lot of layers in my work. So people have difficulties to understand the work, but after they start to get, it's like a relationship, start to get start to involve the work and get involved in the work, and then they started to wear it, and they like it, and they buy, and they started to do something. So I will show you very fast some images of work. I don't will explain all, just that you can see how has been my evolution in the last years. So in 2011, after the prize, I decided don't work with my material of metal. So I cover my table, I put my tools somewhere else, and I started to do work with other materials. So leather and wood became my main materials. And I was creating some body-based pieces, and after I destroyed all the pieces and I tried to get together. So it was something very intimate, personal, and emotional. This work was the first work that I showed for a very wide public, and this work booked my agenda for the next 2 years. But I didn't went to my house and I was happy. I continued working in other projects, and since then, never stopped. I like to read. I like to see. I want to be informed about what is happening, not only in my environment, but around the world. And of course, sometimes you can be like indifferent about what is happening. And for me, it's always a kind of duality, because sometimes jewelry is like a symbol of beautiness, of decoration, or other aspects that, in my opinion, are wrong. But you can say a lot of things making jewelry pieces. Even the people now don't recognize me. For example, this work, Morbid Moves, I made only objects, and are very sculptural objects, are quite big. And I show it in a big museum and as a jewelry project, and the people like it. And I don't know if I have to be happy with that or not, but they like it, and they don't make questions, and they don't make questions about this. If my pieces were jewelry of objects, was not my worry, but I would like to have an discussion with the people about this, but no. And I still asking me if it was because of the institution. You will see later a picture of that, of it was because of the work of, I don't know, but after I sent a letter to them asking like if they can give me more structured feedback about this exhibition. So I continue working this project I made in 2015, and as I told you, for me it's a kind of constant dialogue. I continue working all the time, so this work I still exhibiting. One of the exhibitions in Schmuck and Munich next week is about this work. And always I continue making pieces. So it's not that I stay in one stage. It's like a kind of constantly dialogue that I am doing in my work, exploring different materials, trying to find out what is my personal language. This was my work of 2 years ago, and I made this work 2 years ago. I made 5 different pieces with a very strong text behind each piece. So it was the first time that I decided to keep very small in my groups of work. And so far, it's one of the series that gives me more result. Making this work, I became a kind of phoenix bird. Like I wanted to kill myself and start again because I didn't know how I have to go further with my work. So I decided to choose other materials, other topic of work, not only very emotional. It became emotional again, but I was very happy with this work. And this work was exhibited, just came back from Wisconsin. I got a solo show there in a big museum. People ask me, Jorge, are you depressive? And no, I'm not. I am black, I am dark, but I'm not. I am very positive. I keep dreaming a lot. I can smile a lot, but when the people see this and see me, they say like, oh my God, he's emo, or something like that. I am not. So, it's over time? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So these are my influences. I will go very, very fast. And then I became professor now. But who is the professor? Teacher, instructor, lecturer, tutor, schoolmaster? I don't know. I think that I came with all this experience in both aspects, as teacher and as person, to take care about the students, about what is the personal context, what they are interested in, what is the central element in education, how we can, as institution and academy, give them the tools and the motivations. Because I guess education says a lot about this, to give them real situations that they became interested. So these are some projects of students I made that I wanted to show you, because I don't like to make like a small copies of my work. I like to motivate and give them the input and that points that they needed. Some people are working in collaborations with institutions, with projects, with museums, in a personal way. And I guess we as makers, we are not just makers. We have to work with different places, with different institutions, to be aware how people look to our work, how we are getting involved in different fields and different places, how people is reading the work. This is what I say, how people appreciate and where we will end it. So I have to just to say to finish something. I want to say my work is not spontaneous. It's a result of a long process of reflection. It's a constant research, and mostly with this research, I am looking for answers. But normally, I have more questions. I work in a very personal way. Don't use specific techniques. I don't have assistants. I don't have a big studio. I don't make series productions. I don't use the most expensive materials. I don't like to use the super modern techniques. This is not what you see when you see my work. I try to make and get pieces with a high artistical value, with the most simple way of production, that sometimes are the most banal too. I like when you see the work that you can read more than only a piece. I like that my work don't make feel people comfortable, that the work can tell stories, experiences, and maybe more. I like to share this experience with the people, but especially with the students, because I guess in these institutions we became one. So thank you.